Hi, everyone. I'm Megan. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's Score podcast episode is about self care. And with me here today to discuss the topic further, some Scripps first year students. So, why don't we start off with introducing ourselves first? And I can go. Like I said, my name is Megan. I'm a second year student at Scripps. I'm part of the SCORE programming team, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm currently calling from New Jersey. And Serena, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Serena. I'm currently a first year student at Scripps, and I go by she, her, hers. I'm from Bay Area, California. I guess I'll pop, or if we're popcorning, I'll go to Katie.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, my voice is like dead because I haven't talked to anyone like a very long time. But my name is Katie. I am also a first year at Scripps. I go by she, her, hers pronouns, and I am also from the Bay Area. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Anais, and I go by she, her, hers. I'm also a first year at Scripps, and I'm calling from West Covina, California, which is just outside of Los Angeles.
Great. Thank you so much for joining me today. And we'll kick off the conversation by talking a little bit more about your experiences and your reflections in starting your first semester of college online during a pandemic. So what are some of your highs and lows of the semester? Were there any difficulties that arose, and how has just starting this semester like online and under like during a pandemic, how has that affected you, your mental health, and just like you in general, like any reflections that you want to share?
Yeah, I can go. Well, looking back on it, I feel like it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going into it. Because online classes really forced me to stay productive. But I feel like if it were in person, I would have been even more productive. And because after like everything was over and like we took our finals and everything, looking back on it, I feel like I was just convincing myself that online was not that bad. It was okay. But in honesty, it's definitely really hard on everyone.
Yeah.
And I don't know, without like having classes, I just felt like I wasn't feeling so productive anymore. So on the topic of self-care, I had one of my friends I really like what she said about self-care. And she said, self-care is doing something productive when you're not feeling productive, or when you're being too productive and just like kind of like toning it down a bit. So what self-care is basically doing the opposite. So as for me, because this break, I haven't really been doing anything and I'm just feeling really, really lethargic every day. It's important to kind of just like force yourself to do something to kind of like make yourself feel productive. And I think because there's not many classes, it's kind of hard to kind of get back into the groove again.
I guess I'll go. But as a first year, it was definitely like a bit nerve-wracking going to my first semester of college online, especially because once like the whole lockdown happened in March, at least for my senior year, like all my teachers pretty much stopped assigning like any homework or assignments for the rest of the year, and we're just like kind of having like free days for like the next 3 months. So I didn't really get to have a prior experience of having school online. So it was definitely like nerve-wracking thinking like, of course college is like gonna have like all these assignments like with very high expectations at intense level. And then now it's like going online. So I was definitely nervous about it, but I think I had a really good experience with my professors being very understanding and accommodating, which is honestly super helpful transitioning into college. But of course, like there's still downsides to everything being online. And I think most people can relate to that. It's very like tiring, and it's like very easy to just like feel so drained from staring at a screen all day. And like, I just didn't felt like unmotivated to do my work from like after staring at a screen all day and then staring at a screen even more. So for me, like, it was really important to like step away from like my laptop and like go for a walk or like go and cook something. I would stress bake a lot, so I would just like go in the kitchen. I would just cook. So like just finding like productive ways or productive activities away from the screen was really helpful.
Yeah, I really relate to both of you in like Zoom fatigue is so real, and like just being at home, you feel like you're not like producing like work that makes you feel productive or makes you feel like accomplished. And like that can be really hard, like such a struggle, especially when we're like, like college students, where like we've been in this like constant like competitive nature like in academia, and like we want to continue like striving for like the best in our academics, but it can be so hard to like feel motivated or like feel like we're doing well like in school when we're online, we're stuck inside. But also wanted to say I really like the way that your friend Serena, your friend, like talked about self-care with you, because I think that's so true. Like it's such a balance, and like it's knowing what works for you, like what makes you feel the best, and like what makes you feel like the most balanced, the most like the productive and happy, because it's like it's really just like a scale. It's very different like for everyone, so I really appreciated that. Katie, what about you?
Yeah, I've just been like forming my thoughts, but like I definitely resonated with what what everyone basically have been saying about this semester. I decided to take a very difficult course load. I'm a STEM student, so I took like 2 labs, and then I also had a math course as well. And going into it, I was like, I can do this. Like, it's in my nature. Like, it'll be fine. And like for a long time, I like deluded myself that I was doing okay, because I was really productive. It's just that kind of during like the time that I had to myself, I was like so afraid of like breaking this like productivity that I wouldn't allow myself to do anything that was like long term committal. So like I didn't really like like watch any like shows or like read any books that would require like a long span of time, or I wouldn't like write. I'm a big fan of writing, and I wouldn't do that either. And then like over time, I like very much so lost all motivation to do any of these like extracurricular hobbies and activities. So then I didn't realize that at the time, but now that we have break, I am compensating like heavily. I'm like finally doing everything that I wanted to do. So that has been my form of self-care, but definitely moving forward, this semester has definitely been a learning experience because I will not do that again. Just kind of that whole mentality of kind of maintaining productivity by not doing anything but school, which is already draining because it's like on Zoom and everything.
Yeah, for sure. And like right before we started, Katie mentioned that she has a 7 a.m. calculus class, which is insane to me. Like I could never wake up in time or like feel motivated to go to class. It was that early. And also just math for me. So I'm not a STEM student. But like, yeah, I think it goes back to like just being college students. Like I feel like we're almost like conditioned to like think that we constantly need to be like producing like something to like feel like we're doing well, like we're doing something with our time. But yeah, I think that can be like even worsened by like the fact that we're online. Like it's harder to form like communities with people, with other students, and to feel like that, like to have that support system. It can be like really like draining and like lonely.
I think what also makes it lonely is that even though like with that lack of community and like especially like with my experience as a first year, like it's been harder to like make friends because there's not like that many like icebreaker activities. And so like for me, it's kind of like if I was having days that weren't as productive as others, I would constantly maybe like compare what my productivity and how it seemed like other like first years were doing really well. And I think like it was easy to put like my self-care on the back burner because I was, of course, like always comparing my productivity to what I thought like the productivity of others were.
Yeah.
And so I felt like it was like important to remind myself that of course like they're going through something different than like what I'm going through, and like part of that self-care is like you know, paying attention to whatever like I need for that day and at that time. And of course it's going to be different like the next day, and it's going to be the same thing for everyone else. So
Yeah, that's so good. I'm glad. I think like just taking that, like just like recognizing that like self-care is like different for everyone, and like knowing what works best for you is like one of the hardest parts. And just like feeling comfortable, you know, taking time away from like from work, from like your everyday things to like just kind of like reflect and like focus on yourselves, because like we've been talking about, it's always like about like how productive we are. So like being able to kind of like take time away from that and like focusing on yourself can be really hard when we're like constantly thinking about like what will make us more productive or like more motivated to like put out work. But yeah. So with all this in mind, I want to talk a little bit more about the packages that were sent to y'all. So to give context, I put together and mailed out packages to each and every one of you, and each package contained three things. So there was a personalized mason jar with decorative paper inside, a mini journal that I hand embroidered flowers onto, and also a package of flower seeds. So I'm interested in hearing how y'all have been using these items or how you plan to use them. And does it fit into your self-care routine, if at all?
I can start, I guess. But first of all, thank you for sending all of these things. I was like very delighted when I got them because I have been craving like just emotional connection for so long.
Oh.
Because of quarantine and just like being able to like only being able to interact with like people via screen. So like having something tangible was like very nice, and I was like, oh yay. But one of the things that I have been using is the journal. I mentioned prior that I like writing in my spare time. It's like something that I just like to do. So I've been jotting down like ideas and like thoughts, kind of like a writer's notebook, as like my form of self-care, because it brings me great joy to write, but I haven't been able to do that because of the semester being super busy. Yeah. So that's like one of the things that I have been doing.
Oh, that's so cool. What kind of like writing do you enjoy doing?
It really depends on like my mood and like what type of music I'm listening to, because like I'm like strangely influenced by the type of music that I'm listening to at the time. But like just like probably like bad note app type poetry. And then like I back when I used to like write I wrote a lot of flash fiction and short stories. So I haven't done that as of late, but I've been writing down like ideas and things in case I do want to do that in the future.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I'm glad you're using the journal.
It's super cute too. Like the embroidery is so cute.
Oh.
I love how like simple and like aesthetic it looks too. It's so cute.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I really like the whole packaging. Everything was super like aesthetic.
Oh,
very nice. Yeah, it was well done.
I'm glad y'all liked it. I tried to make it as like personalized as I could.
I thought the personalized part was super sweet because it's like it's not just like randomly thrown together. It's like care was put into it. But I can go. So you know how you gave like decorative paper in like the mason jar, right? So it was perfect because so since Christmas is obviously coming up, it's like it's hard to think about because it's like in what, a week? Yeah, so I was planning on like making gifts for my friends, and I usually like to make some personalized like like art thing or like card, because I'm kind of an artsy person, I guess. I guess. So yeah, I really appreciate the decorative paper because I was definitely planning on using that to write like or make maybe like okay, I'm also pretty into book arts, so I paper is nice. So yeah, I was definitely going to incorporate that, and I was like yeah, working on it and everything. And also about I got the seeds, and they're petunia seeds for me. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's probably other seeds, but my dad and I like to garden sometimes. So I was like hoping that we could incorporate them into our yard. But I'm still figuring out like how we should, because they're kind of like um it's the growth pattern is like different than the current plants we have, so we're still figuring it out.
Yeah, I remember seeing your backyard on Zoom once. It's like so nice. Your garden, it's so pretty.
My flowers, I need to get little mini pots. I could keep them in my room because I'm so scared to plant them in my backyard because I think my dogs will tear them apart. And I can't take care of them. They just, chew them up. So I definitely need to get a little pot for them. But like Katie, I've definitely been using the journal more. And at first I was like struggling to come up with like what to write down. It took me a while. Like at first I was kind of like just thinking about like writing like kind of like a streamline of like a stream of consciousness type of thing, like just like kind of like rambling on like notebook paper. But something that I've been getting more into the routine of is I think it's like easy to like dwell on like kind of like your mistakes or mistakes or just like things you wish you could have changed during the day and stuff. I feel like it was very easy for me to like overlook any sort of like progress I've made since my time in quarantine, or kind of like any like small little victories that I had in the day. So something that I started doing is to like write down what those small victories, and then by reflecting on those like little victories day by day, I felt like it's allowed me to see like any sort of like progress in terms of like my mental health or self-care, and comparing that to the beginning of quarantine. So that's definitely helped me a lot. And it's definitely like moving forward, have like a more positive outlook on my day. So that's definitely been something that's helped me a lot. So.
Yeah, that's so nice to hear. I'm so glad it's been helping y'all. And I also think that like journaling is like it can be really hard to like start and be consistent with it, but it's so important. Like I feel like when I'm journaling, it's like there's like this weight lifted off my shoulder once I'm done. Like it's just so refreshing to like jot down all like your feelings and like actually read it back, like understand what you're feeling in the moment and like think more about it. And I feel like you can always look in the future, look back on your writing and just like see how far you've come, like your progress. It's just like, it's this physical, like, like you can physically track like all your thoughts and emotions and like how you've changed over time. But I also wanted to include the like flowers in the package because I wanted to just like send that reminder to like always take care of yourself in the same way that like you would care for like another living being, like a plant, like how you would like nourish a plant. And like, how people say like, oh, you have to like give affirmations to a plant to help it grow. Like we need to do the same things for ourselves. Like we need to like, like water ourselves with like all these like nutrients from like, and like have this like support system around us and like prioritize ourselves so that we can like grow in the same way. So it's so great to hear that y'all have been using everything or using the packages and that you liked it. I'm so glad. And yeah, this is so amazing. I love all your ideas and how you've been using it. And thank you so much for sharing, for participating in the episode, and for joining the discussion today. So that's all we have for today's episode. Thank you all for joining. Um, stay tuned for more SCORE podcast episodes, and yeah, happy holidays.